Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. Introduce myself. My name is Afi Sukaisika Sifa. On this occasion, I will explain about comparing and contrasting. And this presentation is teaching material for basic writing courses from lectures Mamda Minopita. Okay, and material this time we will discuss first the language of comparisons. Second, comparative sentences, writing a paragraph of comparisons. Fourth, the language of contrast. 5, contrast. 6, writing a paragraph of contrast. 7, science experiment, and the last, gathering data for comparisons and contrast. Okay, let's go straight to the first discussions, which is the language of comparisons. In the language of comparisons, there are the affirmative sentences and negative sentences with be and with other verbs. And affirmative sentences with be, John is a student, George is a student, becomes A, John is a student and George is too. B, John is student and so is George. With other verbs, Japan exports car, Germany exports cars. Can be A, Japan exports cars and Germany does too. B, Japan exports cars and so does Germany. And negative sentences with B, the blue dress isn't expensive, the green dress isn't expensive. Become A, the blue dress isn't expensive and the green dress isn't either. And B, the blue dress isn't expensive and neither is the green dress. And while with other verbs, always don't sleep at night, mice don't sleep at night. Become A, always don't sleep at night and mice don't either. B, always don't sleep at night and neither do mice. The next material. Comparison sentence. Comparative sentences. Comparative degree is used to compare two things. It can be people, object, or animals. This type of English comparison sentence is used to express a more or less characteristic between one thing and another. Remember, only two objects or two groups are compared in these sentences. The example, the Monitor and the Reporter are both weekly magazines. Because the Monitor is a weekly magazine and so is the Reporter. Next, writing a paragraph of comparisons. The following is an example of a paragraph of comparisons. The great white shark lives in the deep, cool seas. It will attack large animals such as sea lions. In contrast, the bull shark lives mostly in shallow waters. Also, it is sometimes found in rivers. These sharks are both very good swimmers and hunters. Both kinds of sharks have lots of teeth. And the paragraph signal words used are also and both. The language of contrast. Contrast is a rhetorical device through which writers identify differences between two subjects, places, persons, things, or ideas. Simple, it is a type of oppositions between two objects highlight to emphasize their differences. Is an example of a contrast, comparisons of the differences between Anne and Beth. Anne is funnier than Beth. Anne is busier than Beth. Anne is cuter than Beth. Anne is nicer than Beth. Anne is smarter than Beth. And while Beth is more serious than Anne, Beth is more athletic than Anne, Beth is more creative than Anne, Beth is more interesting than Anne, and Beth is more sophisticated than Anne. Next, contrast. Contrast is what explains some things or how two or more things are the same or how they are different. In addition, contrast can usually only focus on one or the other, or both. The following is an example of a contrast that so the difference between high school and vocational high school. High school and vocational high school are schools with many similarities and differences, but are best school and will get useful knowledge in both schools. The following are the differences and similarities between high school and vocational school. High school and vocational school are the same as secondary school after junior high school. Senior high schools prioritize theory and only provide general subjects that will be studied in depth, while their vocational high school prioritize a practice to prepare students to enter the workforce. In conclusion, both schools are very good for those who are interested in going to that place according to their respective interests and talents. And signal words I use is while. Next, writing a paragraph of contrast. Comparisons or contrast a paragraph should be tightly focused on a meaningful difference or similarity between two things. You should use specific details and example to explain why the difference or similarity matters. Here are the steps you can follow to write a paragraph of contrast. First, make a list of differences between the two plans and write a letter to your friend contrasting the two plans and suggesting the one you think would be better for you. As a science experiment. Science experiments are often done to show comparisons and contrasts. The following experiments show that copper is a better conductor of heat than wood. You will need to assemble two strips of paper, a copper rod, wooden rod, and a candle. First of all, wrap the strips of paper around uh, around the copper rod. After that, hold the rod above a burning candle for 2 seconds. Then examine the paper. You will notice that it did not burn. Now repeat the same procedure with the wooden rod. Notice that this time the paper searches. The paper scorches. This simple experiment proves that copper conducts heat better than wood. Right, and the last, gathering data for comparisons and contrast. First, choose one of the following topic for your paragraph, such as eating habits, climate, tourism, social custom, educations. And before writing, make a list of questions on your topic that you ask someone from another country, and make a list the differences on your topic between your country and your partner's country. And number three, write a paragraph of contrast using your list as a guide. And four, revise and then rewrite your paragraph. And five, read your paragraph aloud to the class. And maybe that's all I can explain to the Martial this time. Hopefully it can increase our knowledge about the comparing and contrasting. See you next time. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.